Hello, and welcome to my cozy little corner of the internet. As you've chosen to watch this video, I'm sure you're about to embark on a journey almost 100 years in the past. Or perhaps you already did, and that's okay too. I'm so glad to have you here. I thought we could revisit a little bit of the inner workings of the fictional world of the BBC period drama Downton Abbey. I will take a moment to note that for anyone who has not finished the television series, I won't be revealing any major plot twists or spoilers. However, there may be a few characters that I will mention will not appear in the movie. This video can either be watched or simply listened to. The video images are simply here to provide some ambiance. The items displayed are not historically accurate. I simply do not have a budget like the BBC to create such a stunning visual display, as much as I wish I did. I remember the first time I watched the series, I appreciated the balance between the lives upstairs, the Crawley family, and the lives downstairs, the staff. I found it charming and intriguing. This award-winning BBC series first aired on ITV in the United Kingdom on September 26, 2010, and on PBS in the United States on January 9, 2011. The series is created and co-written by Julian Fellowes. Let's review the hierarchy of the family and staff. The family. Robert Crawley is the 6th Earl of Grantham. He is the patriarch, and he is known as Lord Grantham. His wife, Cora Crawley, is the Countess of Grantham and is known as Lady Grantham. It is important to note that she is American. Theirs was a marriage of convenience in the beginning. Her dowry helped save Downton at a time in need. And then there is Violet Crawley. She is the Dowager Countess of Grantham, which means that she formerly held the same position as Cora Crawley until her husband passed away before the series began. This is, of course, Robert's mother. Cora and Robert have 3 daughters, here listed in order of their age. Lady Mary, the eldest, who is not the legal heir to Downton, solely based on her gender. She is headstrong and cunning. Lady Edith, the responsible, lovely, and much overlooked middle child. She is hardworking despite her position in life, and is, in my opinion, a very modern woman for the times. Lady Sybil is the forward thinker. She sees the world for what it is and how it can be changed. She essentially represents the suffragette movement. Without spoiling anything for new viewers, I will simply advise that she will not be directly present in the movie. The children of Downton Abbey, listed in order of their age. Miss Sybil Branson. Sybil, Sibby Branson, was born in 1920 to Lady Sybil and her husband Tom Branson, who we shall meet later. It is important to note that she calls her grandfather, the Earl of Grantham, by the name of Donk. Master George Crawley. George Crawley, born in 1921 to Lady Mary and her first husband Matthew Crawley. He is the heir to his grandfather's estate, and he is fond of the under-butler Thomas Barrow. Miss Marigold Crawley Marigold Crawley was born in late 1922 or early 1923. She is the illegitimate child of Lady Edith and late Michael Gregson. Due to the rigid mindset of the times, Lady Edith went abroad to give birth and to hide her secret, but later changes her mind. And there, I suppose, had to be some spoilers in order to establish who the children of Downton were. Let's move on to the staff. Traditionally, we would start with the male positions, as the butler is the head of staff. However, today we're going to let the ladies go first. The top position of any woman in the household is the housekeeper, and this position is held by Mrs. Hughes throughout the entire series. Elsie May Hughes is originally from Argyll, Scotland. Mrs. Hughes took the position as head housemaid in 1895 and quickly was promoted to housekeeper. In the beginning of the television series, Mrs. Hughes is not actually married, but adopts the title as it befits the role of housekeeper. Later in the series, she does marry, and it is one of the cutest darn relationships within the whole series. Well, I suppose that is a humble Brebop opinion. It is also my opinion that Mrs. Hughes is a very maternal person, for while she is very professional and stoic, throughout the series we see her care for the staff's livelihoods and emotional welfare beyond the requirements of her own job title. The duties of the housekeeper includes supervising the head housemaid and housemaids, overseeing the cleaning and setting of the principal rooms, which all had to be prepared daily before breakfast. Spring cleaning. As the winter months mean more daily duties, it is best to leave the larger and irregular jobs until the warmer weather. It is the housekeeper's duty to plan this springtime event. She is also responsible for the storeroom and is also the only employee who has the key to open it. She is in charge of the linen at the house, and while that may not seem particularly noteworthy, in a household of so many people and so many jobs, a great deal of clean towels, bed linen, working linen, cleaning cloths, and polishing cloths are required. Additionally, she will maintain the record keeping and accounting of the household's many required purchases. Therefore, this role did carry a lot of responsibility and was a very well respected role within these times. The senior lady's maid and ladies' maids. When the series opens, Sarah O'Brien is the senior lady's maid, though by 1922, Phyllis Baxter takes over this role. At the opening of the show, Anna Smith begins as head housemaid, but in 1920 she takes over the role of lady's maid. Sarah O'Brien is a dour woman who I felt was one of those people who is not happy with their lot in life and is always trying to find her way to greener pastures. But her choices are not usually the brightest nor the kindest to those around her. Anna Smith is a loyal, sweet, and hard-working individual. Fans of the show will likely remember her with a different last name, as she marries in the second season. The role of lady's maid. The lady's maid cares for her mistress, which is Lady Grantham, from rising in the morning until she goes to bed. This includes laying out clothing and jewelry required for the day, tidying Lady Grantham's rooms, ensuring that dirty clothing is taken to be cleaned, and that clean clothes were covered or put away so as not to be seen. The lady's maid will also assist Lady Grantham to dress and style her hair, will clean and store her jewelry, and will mend and maintain the lady's clothing taken care to ensure their longevity. The lady's maid will also accompany Lady Grantham on outings, run errands for her, and of course arrange all luggage and travel with Lady Grantham on trips. The housemaids. The housemaids are responsible for keeping the manor ship-shape. This generally includes the general orderliness of all principal rooms, sweeping, dusting, polishing, cleaning wall hangings, beating rugs, freshening the bedroom, and ensuring that the biscuit jars are refilled daily. This is definitely the best part about being rich, having a magically full snack jar in your room at all times. Housemaids had to follow particular rules and recipes to ensure everything was completed at the proper times and to maintain the longevity of the decor and furniture. In fact, the same can be said of every role in a large estate. Ensuring tasks are completed correctly ensures the house remains in working order. The cook, assistant cook, and kitchen maids. The cook, Beryl Patmore, or Mrs. Patmore. Like anyone who has worked in a fast-paced kitchen environment knows, you don't climb the ladder unless you work hard for it. Mrs. Patmore is certainly one of the sternest and most hard-working employees on the show, yet for me, she is also one of the most lovable. She actually cares a lot for a young kitchen maid named Daisy, though she is quite tough on her sometimes. It's how Mrs. Patmore shows that she cares, trying to protect and sometimes push people to do their best. The cook is a key player in the workings of Downton Abbey, keeping the family, guests, and staff well fed and bringing them joy through her culinary delights. The cook is responsible for ensuring the pantry is well stocked, arranging orders with the housekeeper, and having the menus prepared and approved by Lady Grantham. Her day starts early, of course. One of the first things to be done is to send note to the gardeners for what she will need that day, so that the items can be delivered at the correct times. She is responsible for ensuring all courses are ready to be served on time. Of course, she also requires the footman to be reliable in this endeavor as well. Daisy Mason. At the start of the series, Daisy is employed as a kitchen maid, but she is ambitious and is promoted to kitchen assistant. She is usually well focused on her tasks, though she is a very romantic soul and always wants to help. She often finds herself in more of a mess rather than actually helping. She can be immature and naive, but ultimately is a sweet girl. The assistant cook and kitchen maids. The assistant cook works closely with the cook, as this is both a role for helping and learning the ins and outs of the trade. The kitchen maids attend to all the tidying and cleaning so that the cook and assistant cook may focus on food preparation. The kitchen maids are the earliest to rise at 4:30 a.m. so that they can go and light fires around the house. Following this, they prepare the servants' hall for breakfast. At 6 a.m., they wake the housemaids so the workday can truly begin. While staff who are seen above stairs throughout the day are required to wear specific, mostly black uniforms, the kitchen staff are only expected to appear tidy and wear good shoes for comfort and safety in the kitchen. So you may notice some color on the clothing of the kitchen staff. Now, let's move on to the male staff, because it is important to remember that it's the 1920s and gender roles are still a thing. I will also note that the female staff is overseen by Lady Grantham and the male staff is overseen by Lord Grantham. The butler. The butler, Charles Carson. He is honestly the man who keeps all the cogs at Downton Abbey running smoothly. He entered service at the age of 14 and worked his way up the ladder at another estate. Later, he accepted the role of second footman at Downton Abbey. By the end of the series, and of course the beginning of the movie, Carson has stepped down from his duties out of necessity. He remains as a tenant at Downton, as he was a good and loyal part of the household for decades. In addition to the heavy load of managing the staff, hiring and training, and ensuring quality each day, the butler also oversees the cleaning, care, and storage of fine silver, Lady Grantham's most precious jewels, and he also manages the cellars, which includes advising his lordship on purchases, keeping an inventory, and correct bottling, storage, and decanting. The valet, John Bates. Mr. Bates earns our respect for a hard-working attitude despite a disability that impacts his ability to carry out all of the normal functions of a valet. Lord Grantham hired him despite this, as the two are old friends. Mr. Bates served as Batman to Lord Grantham in the Boer War, which is a war that occurred between the British Empire and two Boer states over the Empire's influence in South Africa. This war is referred to now as the Second Boer War, and it ran from October 11, 1899 to May 31st, 1902. And for those of you who were as clueless as me, the term Batman is an orderly soldier who is assigned to a commissioned officer as a personal servant. The valet is responsible for Lord Grantham's daily needs. It is much akin to the head lady's maid who cares for Lady Grantham throughout the day. The valet's duties include ensuring Lord Grantham is properly attired for all occasions, traveling with his lordship, cleaning and mending, and generally being prepared for whatever Lord Grantham might need throughout the day. The valet's day begins with bringing up a tray of tea in the morning and preparing his lordship's clothing for the day. I found this next point so fascinating. Lord Grantham had between 5 and 7 clothing changes in a day, which of course the valet must be prepared for. The footman. Within the lower ranks, there is more movement as typically younger staff moves up the ranks. When the series starts, Thomas Barrow is the first footman and William Mason is the second. By the end of the television series, Barrow has moved on to take the position as butler when Carson steps down, and Andrew Parker takes on the role of first footman. Thomas Barrow is a complex character who I think many of us both love and hate. In the beginning of the series, he is quite villainous, but by the end of the series, he has a fair amount of character growth and becomes more lovable. He also has a very dangerous secret for the times. The duties of the footmen include laying the table for meals, waiting the table, serving wine, serving tea, delivering notes and messages, and acting as valet to any guests who did not bring their own. I think that the footmen are also assigned one of the best and most important tasks. Each day, a footman is assigned to take Lord Grantham's dog for a walk in the morning and again before bed in the evening. At the beginning of the series, Lord Grantham has had 2 dogs, Isis and Pharaoh. But sadly, by the end of the series, they are no longer with the family. There is new joy, though, as in 1925, his mother, Dowager Countess, has gifted him with a puppy named Tia. I'm sure we will get to see her again in the movie. Seeing characters who have beloved animal companions is so important to me. Even when they don't have a lot of screen time, I feel that these characters, these animal characters, are still such an integral part to the working family in this show, or in any show. There are a few other roles that are not typically shown in great detail on the show. On the women's side of the staff, there are scullery maids, who of course work to clean the kitchen items. And on the male side, there are a few other roles that are not covered in terrible detail. There is the head groom and grooms, because of course an estate like Downton will have a stable full of beautiful horses. There is the head gardener, gardeners, and then kitchen gardeners. I suppose their lives weren't interesting enough. No, I believe that the balance of upstairs and downstairs gave a great flow to the show. And there are just a couple of remaining positions we have not discussed. There is the head chauffeur and chauffeurs. And while we don't see very much of these roles played out in the show, except for in passing, there is one character I have left to discuss, and that is Tom Branson. When the series opens, he is a chauffeur for the family. And this is unfortunately a spoiler for those of you who have not seen the show. But as I mentioned earlier, he and Lady Sybil are married and have a child together. Tom is an Irishman, working class, and he cares very much about his home country. Through him, in the series, we get to see some of the troubles that affected Ireland in the early 1900s. We also get to see the struggles of barriers breaking down between classes at this time in history. Most people were still very uncomfortable with the idea. Tom is a beloved character for me as well, and the journey that he goes on, I think, is still very wonderful, even if you know the final outcome. I want to thank you all for joining me today for this brief overview of the workings of Downton Abbey. For those of you who are new to the series, I hope this was a good overview of the roles, and I hope that you will give it a try, because I think it is a wonderful show. And for those of you who have watched the show and are going to, or maybe already have seen the movie, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope that the movie was satisfying for you. Whatever time of day it is for you, I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thank you again for coming. Goodbye.